This is the Hazel Park Amateur Radio Club ARDC Grant Weekly Update for Monday, October 6th, 2025. All right, just to remind ourselves again quickly, these are the components that are covered underneath the grant program. And it starts off with, of course, we'll start up here with the antenna and the heliax and the duplexer. So the antenna system, those items have been delivered and are being measured and tested as we speak. In addition, the QuantDAR VHF repeater, the controller, which we currently have the SCOM 7K, our voter, which is what we want to talk about. It's the new addition to the topics on which we're speaking today. We want to talk a little bit about a voter. And then next week, we'll move to the left and we'll start talking about what kind of receivers or what we want to do in terms of in terms of that type of equipment. Right. Okay. So these are the receivers here. And then down here, of course, we want to totally rebuild, redesign our IP network infrastructure. So that's covered as well. I pulled up an interesting drawing. I don't know. I just stuff like this interests me. This was a drawing I did on a project many years ago, but just looking at it and you see the complexity of how these things, how circuits like this can unfold. Compared to this, of course, we're simple, but I think that we're covering ourselves with the four separate VLANs so we can break out the equipment in different sections and be more effective in terms of controlling it. Anyway, this is something to be printed out and hung on the wall for future reference. All right, so the Bearcom story. Well, we're waiting for Bearcom's sales rep, Tommy Taylor, to submit a proposal to us. And the proposal is for a turnkey system. The idea, ideally, we didn't agree to this, but ideally, they purchase the equipment, they can build it. Just give us the whole package, and then by that time, we'll have a place to put it. But we first met on September 22nd. Today's October 13th. That's 21 days ago. Have not seen a proposal. So made a phone call this morning, and I will continue tomorrow working on that and seeing what's going on. So we'll update everybody as soon as we hear something new. All right, the big story this week, of course, is the Telwave duplexers. We were in Lens Garage on Friday for the second round of measuring and testing. And we learned a few things that we didn't know, and we're going to discuss some of that here. This is the spec sheet on that unit, and nothing unusual. The tuning range, of course, is VHF. There's two types. There's the four-cylinder and the six. We have the six-cylinder. So we're really looking at about 100 dB of isolation, and that was one of the things, of course, that attracted us to this particular product. So this is the graph advertised, and so our goal when we're in the Lens Garage is to see if we could reproduce this graph that were in front of us, and so we gave it a go there. This is what it, this is what we initially hooked up last week on our first go around. And basically, what you're looking at here is you're looking at the six cylinders. Three of them are for transmit, three of them are for receive. And what we're basically doing is we're using the spectrum analyzer. There's a built-in generator, a tracking generator, and we're taking that output and we're putting it to the input cylinder of the transmit chain. Then what we did was we took the input of the spectrum analyzer at the antenna output and fed that to the input of the antenna, the input of the spectrum analyzer. So we were basically measuring these three cylinders in the transmit side, and then we did it in the receive side. But we weren't really getting the results that we had expected, and it was a bit of a curiosity. Frequency wise, we appeared to be okay, but in terms of the amount of attenuation, that was that question. Then on Friday, when Andrew joined us, so things were reconnected more like you see in the bottom here, in the bottom picture here. Well, here's the spectrum analyzer. The tracking generator goes out. It goes through the three cylinders of the transmit side, through the Y connector, then into the receive side, and uh, into the input of the spectrum analyzer. Now, it was very interesting, and Andrew pointed this out, and he's absolutely right. Although I guess it's good to know what the characteristics are for half of the cylinders. We don't really care because the isolation we're talking about is between the receiver and the transmitter. In particular, what we want to make sure is no energy from the transmitter side, and that's 100 watts. That's 100 watts of power. Will be able to get through the duplexer and into the receive side so that we can transmit and receive at the same time. So that's the goal. That's the goal. So here's how we went about that. Here's so this is our first try here. So this is this figure, this one here, okay, how we did it at first. And so you can see how we have the cylinders looped together on each side, and then on the cylinder number three, we have a Y connector or a T connector. It's also called a T connector, and that's where the antenna normally connects to. What we did is we took the tracking generator and we took the output of the spectrum analyzer, the tracking generator, and we fed it into the TX, like I said, and that signal travels through the three cylinders. Then, then then we did the reading on the output of cylinder number three, and we got a waveform that looks something like this. And again, from a frequency standpoint, the horizontal axis, the x-axis, we're pretty pleased with the way that that turned out. It was a matter of the north and south axis that the yeah, so it's a matter of the north and south that we're talking about, or the y-axis in terms of representing the amount of the amplitude of the rejection filter is what I'm trying to say. So anyway, so we set it up this way. Now, okay, so that's what that looked like. Then we tried it Andrew's way, and we were able to get a better response in the amplitude range. In other words, the depth of the notch, I guess, which is this portion right here. So we were able to get approaching 90 dB. And then so so this will be going forward. This will be the standard setup that we have when we measure these. And like I said, we'd like to have one more opportunity to get in and to get back into the lens garage and get this measured and completed and documented. And these slides are going to be used for the extra class license course as well. So it's in addition to help ensure that components of the new repeater are within specifications, it's also will help with freshen up the extra class license course a bit. All right, so now what are we looking at exactly? So there's a few things about the duplexer that we should know. And this design, there's something a band pass, band reject duplexer. That's what we are. It's a combination. So what does that mean? Well, the band pass, band reject. It's actually, so we have a band stop filter, as you can see, where it takes a dip, and that's the rejection side of the equation. Then we have a band pass uh, filter, which emphasizes the frequency that we want to pass through. And we combine these two together, and we come up with something that looks like that. Okay. So this would be the low frequency, 146.040. Okay, this would be the high frequency, in this case, 146.640. So something like this would be on the receive side of the cylinders. So if we take this theoretical and we look at against the practical, it doesn't look exactly right. And the reason is because the time base is off. So I took it a step further and squashed it down so that it actually fits within the actual time base. From the left side of this drawing that's provided by the manufacturer to the right side is 700 kilohertz wide. This dotted line here, I drew it in at 700 kilohertz wide. So you can get an idea of the width of the window that they're looking at here in the spec sheet there. And then I took this is our actual reading and made it to fit within those parameters, just so that we can use it as a comparison and get an idea of how things are looking. Now this was all done using the spectrum analyzer, laboratory grade spectrum analyzer, the Rigel DSA 815, fine piece of equipment. But also we have the nano VNA. So Andrew showed up with the nano VNA. And so he took these shots, and it's interesting, the nano VNA, which is an item that's under $75, whatever, versus a laboratory grade spectrum analyzer that's over $1,000. It's just interesting to see how close they come to each other. So here's what Andrew had, these two shots, which I combined into one. So you can see here's one marker he has at the peak, and then this other picture has the other marker down on the other frequency separated. And you can see the frequency. So I superimposed them so we can all look at it on one graph. But if you look here, so marker one, and that's this one, is 146.640, as you can see. The other marker one, let's say, marker 1B, right down here, the 146.040. So that is the correct separation. So these yellow lines, which line up with where the markers are, show what the 600 the 600 kilohertz separation would look like. But if you look here, you can see we are off. The tuning, according to the nano VNA, has it so that the tuning of the duplexer is off by 300 kilohertz. Okay. Now, and again, we're just using this as a comparison because when I go back, what I did was this was using the spectrum analyzer here. I got a little different result, as you can see. Here, we're not exactly tuned. I mean, if this was absolutely 100% perfect, this blue line would go right through the center right here. So it's off by a bit, but it's certainly not off by 300 kilohertz. So we do have a discrepancy there, which again, in our third and final session for measuring and documenting the duplexers, we'll be able to have a finer point on exactly what's going on here. All right. Well, this just shows the window. This is 700 kilohertz wide, so it shows what's in the window for comparison there. And so on, this shows the frequencies here. This is our marker one. Where's the marker one? There you go. You can see right here. So you can see this one orange line, vertical line goes through marker one. This is 1R, so that's the reference. That's the delta, and that's the other orange line. And you can see, as you can see, we're really pretty close in this picture here, in this pass. So that's why I'd like one more crack at it. I'd like to even this out and get that exactly on the peak, and then we could see exactly where we are. But okay, some more of the same. So here, these are just, again, you can see we're off just a little bit here in here, but not quite this much. So there is a bit of a discrepancy between the two machines there. All right, what else? Oh, and so this was a problem. This happens to be the way that the spectrum analyzer organizes the files when it takes a screenshot. So we will have to pay extra attention to it when we do it the third time. I don't know. Maybe somebody will donate one of these and our new equipment will have a nice looking a cabinet, but more to follow on that. So far we decided on the repeater, right? The SLA 8000. We decided on the repeater controller, the RC10, okay, from Arcom. So our big the section we need to focus on this week now is the repeater, is the voter. So here's a picture of our current voter made by LDG. They're not in the voter business anymore, but of course they do antenna matching devices and things of that sort. And so, but this is our current voter. This is what it looks like on the inside. So we have a few things to think about voting wise, right? The ARCOM RC210 plus voter board. Well, that sounds like a terrific idea to me, but I couldn't find that anywhere. I just couldn't find it anywhere. So the voter board, I found the ARCOM RC210, but not the voter board. So I think the next step is to reach out to Arcom and with a phone call and just see whether that's a reality or it isn't. The next option is the SCOM 7330 with the voter add-on. Remember, the SCOM is the controller, the repeater controller, which we currently have. But we don't have the 7330, but the 7330 is a new version, but they're not building them anymore. During the recent chip shortage, they had an issue, so they stopped building them. And I have had difficulty trying to get some pricing on that. Then we have this ICS controller, and then we have the granddaddy of all voters. Okay, this is a real voter, like full-time voter. It retails for dollars, right? And it's commercial grade, and it's ideal, really. It's ideal for us. Now you can see you can get them. They're used about from 500. Here's one for 400. These were just to give an example of what's available for us. This was just I did this yesterday, so something to certainly think about. This is a no nonsense device, extremely accurate, has terrific ratings, and is the top of the class of its. It's the top tier of its class. So here are some more options we have in terms of that. Now here you can see this is a mainframe, so that you can do 6 receive sites or 12 receive sites and so on and so forth. So this is going to be the next focus of our attention, and we'll have more on it certainly next week. Here are just a summary of what's available on the market. So we are looking help. It would be nice to have some volunteers to help run down some of this stuff so that we can move ahead at a little more brisk pace than we've been going.
I feel like we are very, very, very rapidly running out of time to get this done.
Yes.
And there's two things that are hanging over us. One is that we need like are we just totally abandoning the senior center, or are we going back in there? Has
No,
anybody talked to them? The last that
well,
I heard was that we need to get our crap out of there. Um, and the other thing is, has anybody spoken to the ARDC about an extension on this grant? Like, we're in the middle of October, November is coming, and December's after that.
right, right. So let me go back to question number one. We're dealing with the management there, and um, Mark is helping us with that. Um, and we're I I can't say more. I just can't say right now more. So in the event, which I think is an unlikely event, but in the event, things don't go our way, we're thinking about an alternative. Should we have to do that? It happens, in my opinion, this alternative is better than where we are now, but we don't want to lose any coverage we currently have. And it is a bit complicated. It's not impossible. And it's the School of Engineering, electrical engineering. So,
When was
you
the last time that somebody spoke to the management at the senior center?
know, Mark is working on Mark. That's under Mark's. Where is he here? No, did he leave?
No,
Oh,
yeah, I'm here.
where are you? I don't see your picture, Mark. Oh,
I
there you are. Okay, yeah. So
I just have my
KB8
camera.
UNX Mark. Yeah. So
I just have my
Mark
camera.
has been tasked with uh, has been tasked with interfacing on behalf of the club with the apartment building to see if we can get to the bottom of what needs to be done in order to have uh, an official document of some sort
Sorry, Dan.
get, get, giving us, the right to be there. So that's being worked on. And I don't want to really say more than that because it can go either way. It's in early stages. It's not so much the Federation as much as it is apparently to what's being said. How true it is, we'll see. But it's 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 more the lending company
Hey,
that owns
Joe,
the building, I guess. And I'm not
your
sure how that is. Yes,
slideshow,
go ahead, John.
your slideshow is not full screen. I'm seeing a place to the right that says click to add notes and stuff like
Oh,
that.
what am I? I'm
Yeah,
sorry, say that again.
you're presenting the presenter screen. Okay, so fine. If you don't want to give away any more information, that's fine. But can you answer
There we go.
when was the last time, Mark, can you answer when was the last time that you spoke to somebody at the Federation building?
Um, Joe, are you okay with me speaking to that?
Yeah, I think in general terms that's fine. I mean,
Okay.
I can answer it for you too. We our last communications with them is written communications. It's an email that despite it, we had a very successful walkthrough with them many months ago, and we were a little bit surprised when we got this email uh, a few weeks ago when they said they're not really interested in working with us. Nobody said take anything down. What they were basically saying is you can't put anything up. Okay. There was no mention of having to take anything away. So let's be very clear about that.
Okay, well, that's good. So
Yeah.
we received that email from them on what date, and did we respond to them?
Yes, I responded. I said, let me take it to the board and we'll talk about it, which is what we've been doing. And in terms of your questions, that I can tell you, let me see if I can find, hold on a minute. Let me just see if I can.
How about the question, the answer for has anybody contacted the grantor and asked for
No,
an
not yet,
extension?
not yet,
Not
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 yet.
yet. Okay, well
No.
we got 12 weeks left, so we got plenty
Yeah,
of time.
and we got tons of information to update them. I mean, my goal is the videos that we're making every week is to send that to them to keep them updated. We are moving ahead. I mean, we're going slow, and there was a time when things were not. moving at all, but I think that we are moving in a positive direction. I'm hoping to hear back from Bearcom very soon, and if not, within the next couple of days, may have to make a decision to move on. I mean, I don't know.
Well, you should always have competitive bids put out. You can't just go with one
Yeah, and you had
source.
mentioned, actually, you know what? I'm glad you brought that up. You had mentioned in a previous meeting, I forgot what company it was, but something you were an outfit you were familiar with or something. You know what I'm talking about,
Well,
Al?
I sent everyone an email a month or two ago regarding
Yeah,
the SLR 8000, and I don't know what happens. I don't know why the email chain isn't working. In fact, I have no others due.
yeah, that's
But
that.
yeah,
Correct.
I'd have to go back to the email. I don't know. I guess you still never got it. So I don't know. Maybe this is a do not respond or reply email chain, because when you hit
Oh,
reply to
you should be
everybody, it
able
seems
to.
no one gets it.
You should be able to respond, and again, there's a lot of moving parts here, more moving parts than I think we bargained for, but we'll get around to everything. We're not doing everything 100%. I'm going to try really hard with the help of you and yourself. If you can come up with that company, I mean, I'm open to getting other bids. I can only do so much as one
I
person,
would
you know.
exactly. I wish we had known this back in August, because a group of us were here for about 3 or 4 weeks in a row, checking into the Monday meeting, and there was no meetings, and it was
Yeah,
determined, well, we're going to take a couple weeks off, until September or something, and start them up again. So we
yeah,
definitely, lost a lot of time in moving forward. So this is why it's of utmost importance to somebody needs to call the grantor and
right.
ask for the extension. Find out, hey, are we liable now? What happens
Yeah,
if you order this stuff and they
yeah,
say no, no more money? Now you're on the hook to purchase it. So
yeah.
somebody
I
needs to
hear.
get in front of this, Joe. They really do. I'm
Yeah,
sorry. That's all I can mention.
okay.
I don't know. Somebody has to get a grip on it.
Right. I would agree. I would agree. And that, but we also have to get a grip on getting these proposals in. It's a lot. It's a lot. We're moving slower than we want to, but we're moving. We'll get it. I was really hoping to hear back from Bearcom and have some good news today, but we may have
Well,
to
you
wait
got to
longer.
keep on them too. You got to
Yeah.
stay on top of these people.
Yeah.
They're going to look at you and say, "Oh, this is piddly stuff." You're already underneath a stack of paperwork and quotes on their table. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
They obviously aren't interested. And to talk about voters and all these other peripherals that might be needed, we don't know if
Right.
it's needed. Bearcom could tell you if it's needed, or somebody of equivalent, you know, uh, understanding
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
uh, expertise. But for us to talk about different peripherals and $7,000 for a voter, hell,
Yeah.
we don't even know if we need a voter. Maybe this SLR 8000 votes itself, right? So
It
you don't
if
know. These are all
right.
arbitrary situations. We need to stay focused on
Yeah.
what's important. Talking to the grantor, extending, finding out what the liabilities are,
Right.
right?
So
You still have to worry about moving that antenna and saving money for someone to erect it
yeah.
if we do get permission. And
Yeah.
also, someone's going to have to find out, we can't add anything. Well, hell, can we service what we have up there? Can you even access
And
and get to our equipment?
that's what
So,
Mark is
we don't
working
need
on
to get
that.
locked
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
We can't get locked out like what happened at N8 or yeah, KD,
In the
the smart repeater.
PNC building, right? They had
Right.
what,
So
like
they
3 hours
can't even
or
access their
something?
stuff. Yeah. So they lost their stuff because no one stayed on top of it. But
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not going to raise my blood pressure. If no one else is concerned, I'm not going to be.
Well, and that's why we took this step ahead of time to interface with the landlord, let them know we're there. It's not right. You can't have equipment on property that doesn't belong to you, or you don't have a right to be there, whatever. But we're working on getting that squared, getting it done the right way. We do not want to end up like they did there. Uh, that was the PNC Bank building in Troy, I think. So anyway, but I hear you.
And also transparency. If you don't want to be
Yeah.
transparent on the air, that's fine. But to be transparent amongst group here, the so-called DART committee. Hell, maybe we're not even part of the committee, and there's a DART committee going on, the shadow DART, right? So
The dartboard. Yeah.
exactly. So full transparency, I think, would be wonderful as well, and keeping things under wraps, and not letting anyone know what's going
What are we
on.
keeping on? We're not really keeping
Well,
anything
I'm
under
not
wraps.
sure either.
Yeah.
You talk about moving the whole DART all the way out to the northeast corner of Oakland County.
Well,
Yeah, I
yeah.
don't know what's being thought and why we're even talking about that. We got to focus on the main thing first, retaining this grant, period.
Right. Right. Well, we have to focus on also on having a place for the dart. And if we can, if we resolve the apartment building, then we can look at Oakland merely as a remote receive site, which would be a good idea too. It'd be very advantageous. Uh, yeah. Okay. This is why these weekly meetings are important, and maybe things get neglected in the usual course of things, but I'm glad that we have this backstop, the Monday meeting every week, to be able to, we want to be able to share when things go right, but we need to be honest and upfront with each other when things aren't going well, and I think we're able to achieve that tonight. So, good meeting, good meeting.
So
Any
should someone else reach out now and try to get different quotes for this repeater?
You know, if you
I
could reach out to that company that you brought up, and I do not remember the name of it, and I thought it made sense. Do you realize who I'm talking to? Who
I
I'm talking?
can't remember the name off the top of my head.
Isn't it
I'd
Buy
have to
Two
look
I'll
at my
have to go
files.
Radios?
back and find it.
So
But Al, I would say, the more people that could help here in an organized way, we don't want to get crazy about it. But I tell you, it's a lot. It's a real lot, and there's not a lot of people who are doing a lot more. So
All right,
Well, I wish
let's let Mark do his magic, and we're going to approach both simultaneously. I mean, it's due diligence. I mean, there's no guarantee that because we're stepping forward, had we just stayed back in the shadows the way that the DART was for decades, the management didn't even know it was there. That's not really a good way to do business. And so we needed to be done the right way. And so we took that chance. And so now we're negotiating with them. Negotiating, goes a little this way, a little that way, and then in the end, we come up with an agreement. But yeah,
right. Well, as you remember, back in May,
yeah.
I'm
Carry on, everybody. Thank you. Thanks again. Hugh, thank you for all your feedback. And Al, of course, Dave, Mark, Les, good to see you. Thanks for there is, just so everybody knows, there's an automatic announcement that goes out at 5 o'clock that has the links on it and everything. So if you don't, I'm more than happy to send it out earlier, but just FYI.
5 o'clock's good.
Okay. All right. Well, take care. We'll talk again. And 73.
Say good night, Joe.
Good night, Joe.